We did that for a staging. Well, all right. Good morning, everybody. It's an early edition of Behind the Flame. I'm here with Austin Web Designs running the production. He was too much of a pussy to do the intro, so I figured I would.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Got him to talk, though. Anyway, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the sponsors. We got a special guest today. We're going to roll 2 back-to-back episodes. So today is definitely a Bang energy drink fueled morning, caffeinated to the max.
Absolutely.
We want to give a special thanks to Taurus USA, Kenzie's Optics, 221B Tactical, Mark Bell's Slingshot, as always, the Slingshot guys keeping us in shape. And of course, Bang Energy Drink, we need them more now than ever before. We got a great guest today. We got a guy who's in the building. I've been kind of itching to get this done. A good friend, mutual friend of ours, Andy Stump, beat me to the punch with this one. But I really wanted to get him on. He's got a really rich story. He's one of the most humble guys when it comes to telling his story that I know. I had a chance to listen to his other podcast on kind of another medium over with Andy, Cleared Hot. It was a great episode, and I'm excited to have him. We have the head of DRACOS Barrels, Aaron Cross.
That's me.
So Aaron has been with the company a bit now. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's been here, there, and everywhere. He's been overseas. He's got a great story. I want you to get, like we do with every guest, get right into it and talk about how you got here at Falcor and your journey, and fill in some of the blanks for the folks so they understand who you are and what you're all about.
So where do you want me to start exactly?
Take me back to the guy who signed up for the military and what he was all about.
Ooh, well, I come from a huge patriotic family line. We've been in just about every conflict since 1776. And so I knew at a young age, like I just knew that I was going to join the military in some sort of facet. And Marine Corps was initially the go-to. And then I was kind of persuaded out of it and went to the Army instead, which is fine. It's fine. I have no regrets. Or regrets if you were to do a messed up tattoo. But yeah, so I signed up straight out of high school back in 1997 and did my first little stint going from basic training down in Fort Benning, Georgia, to airborne school immediately after, and had straight orders, pinpoint orders to 101st Airborne Division Air Assault in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I was there from 97 to May of 2001, so before 9/11 kicked off, and I ETS'd and came back home. And then from there, I did some crabbing, and then, of course, 9/11 kicked off, and so I was trying to get through a bunch of red tape to come back in the service, because one of the things I wanted to do while serving in the military was to do my part as an infantryman, meet the enemy, see his eyes, and just go toe-to-toe and do what we do best. And so I went through a bunch of red tape and came back in 2004 and went to the 82nd Airborne Division in Fort Bragg, lovely Fort Bragg, my old stopping ground. I love that place. And deployed numerous times, Afghanistan, Iraq. And fortunately, I got a really cool job after that. After my Iraq deployment from 06 to 07, Went to Fort Leavenworth, Kentucky, to where I trained, helped train battalion and brigade staffs on TOC operations and mission planning. Did that for about 3 years, and was chasing another deployment after I got hit again in Iraq with some shrapnel, but that's all right, different story. And then I chased another deployment out of Fort Lewis, Washington, where I was able to be a platoon sergeant, which is probably my favorite job while serving, and was deployed to Afghanistan, where I took another IED blast and screwed up my back, and the Army said, well, nothing we can really do for you, which is no harm, no foul, is what it is. And so I came home and was searching for jobs, and fortunately I came across Mel and Jason's lovely place here at Falcor, and they gave me a job, and I haven't looked back since.
So how many years was that, and how many deployments?
14 years, and I did 3 deployments, averaging about 3 years total.
It's pretty intense. And how many times were you blown up?
5. I've taken 5 IED blasts total, not including a friendly fire 203 grenade shrapnel to the leg.
Holy shit. Now, I know we're going to have Crispy on next week, but can you walk me through, for those out there that kind of don't understand what an IED is and how that goes down, can you walk me through a little bit of what goes through your head and how that shakes out?
Oh, when you get hit?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Give me a little insight. Give the listeners, you get a lot of people out there and that don't understand what it is you guys go through. Give them some insight.
Well, IEDs, when they were first initiated, they were more prevalent, not more prevalent, but they were initiated around 2004 when we were our first little stint in Iraq. And those guys, fortunately for me, I didn't get to experience that, but they were running around with like no doors. They weren't running around in up armored vehicles, and IEDs back then were just simple, mines. From Russian era, Cold War era stuff. And as the war progressed in 2006, insurgents were using homemade explosives to initiate their IEDs, which oddly enough, and I don't want to give the Irish any credit for this, but the IRA were initiating IEDs back in the 1950s. So IEDs aren't anything new. Vietnamese were utilizing mines as booby traps, during the Vietnam War. But my last one, I can give you a pretty good picture as when it happened. This was November 9th, 2012, which is that last little explosion. When it hit, it was a double-stacked AT mine, and when it hit me, it was like your TV just kind of goes out. It's like the electricity in your head, it's like being in a house, and all of a sudden, like, it's pitch black, and there's, like, no light whatsoever. And, you kind of get that metallic dust in your mouth. You can you can smell it, breathe it. It becomes part of you. And I was kind of in limbo, knocked out me and my guys were kind of knocked out for a good few minutes. And after that, everything was just kind of hazy. It's like the TV kind of fuzzes and everything kind of gets back into the frame. But yeah.
And for those that don't know, what does IED mean?
Improvised explosive device.
So, not that I can relate or assimilate. Would something, for example, in the Boston bombing be an IED?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So basically something that's homemade, that somebody rigs up, and they put it on the road, or they put it near the vehicles or near you guys when you're overseas, and they use it as a tactic to disrupt, disorientate, and harm, obviously.
Correct.
It's crazy. And I know how, obviously we hear it on the news and people hear about it, but they don't understand how devastating these devices were. I thank you for your service. I think it goes without saying. And to hear your story, and I've heard bits and pieces of it, it is tremendously eye-opening. It goes without saying you deserve all of our gratitude for that. And the 14 years of service isn't anything to shake a stick at. So I want to let that sink in with everybody listening. I know we got a few people on the YouTube and some people coming over. It's early. But I also want to update everybody on the giveaway. Austin was kind enough to type in a little bit on the giveaway. We got a great giveaway today. We're going to be giving away an Action Targets prize pack. And Austin, I believe you want to do an optic too, right?
Yeah, let's throw it in.
Austin wants to do a Vortex red dot as well. So we're going to do an Action Targets bag and a Vortex red dot. So to everybody on the YouTube, please share this YouTube, like and subscribe, and head over to Falcor's last post, comment on the last couple posts. But we're really looking for you to share the YouTube and leave reviews on both the podcast platforms. Behind the Flame, we also have a non-video one that's audio only now. So to all you guys, I'll probably pick a winner from the audio only. So head over to Behind the Flame on Apple. And if you share the YouTube right now into your Facebook, it'll give you a leg up. So take a minute, you guys, and share this. Aaron, that's a crazy story. It really is. It's something to take in. Your years of service, your deployments, the IEDs. I don't think a lot of people walk around this building and understand that. I did. I knew enough. And you had my respect. But that's really something. And it's something to be proud of. It's something that I know you're humble about. Goes without saying. I'm honored, really, to have you as part of the team. I think not only being a platoon sergeant, but having straight up the balls to sign back up after 9/11 says a lot about you, says a lot about your character, about who you are. And I think it's really something that's overlooked by a lot of people that don't understand your story. I imagine it's hard to be humble, having that much going on, because I would want to at least let people know what I've seen, what I've done, but you carry it extremely well, and I mean that. Now, take me through coming home and getting the job here, and kind of what it was like to, because we had Sergeant Mack on, we've had BB on, we've had some guys on. Take me through kind of being a veteran and coming home and that adjustment. And I know it's been hard for you at times and in pockets, but what advice would you give folks going through the same thing, and what system has worked for you?
Well, no offense to the clearing, getting ready to get out process, but the Army as a whole doesn't really do a very good job of painting you a picture of what it's like on the outside world. And I throw that term loosely, but I mean it with the kindest heart, because military world and civilian world are two different worlds altogether. But the biggest problem, biggest hurdle that I was having was, you have these years of experience and these years of being these leadership roles, to where you're given all this responsibility. And so when you get out, you tend to think that, well, you could tackle anything. You have like this automatic, let's just say skill set. Yeah, that just kind of throws you into just about any pot that you apply for, and so therefore, you kind of think that you deserve these moments, right? But when I was doing my resumes, it was a wake up call that, no, like you still have to earn your way back into society, and it's a hard lesson to learn. And I had to do some self-reflecting on that, because I struggled for 3, almost 4 years trying to find a decent job. And I even packed up and moved to North Carolina, back to around Fayetteville, Fort Bragg area, thinking that I could find another job, thinking I'd get like contract work or whatever. But the harsh reality is everybody's looking for those spots, And so I was there for about a year, just kind of going at the grind, throwing in resumes. I probably submitted close to 500 resumes, easy, throughout that 2.5, 3 year experience. And I finally said screw it, and I came back home, because this is my support group, friends and family, and so that's the best thing for me. And so when I came back home, and I already had put in job applications even before I even started driving back home, and I was getting hits left and right. because for one, I had other people look at my resumes. I had Sergeant Major Green, who was at that time the division command sergeant major of the 82nd Airborne Division. I had him look at my resume. I had other sergeant majors. I had colonels looking at my resume, saying, you know, what could I change? And they gave me some really good insight. And when I made those changes, it was amazing at how fast I was getting that response. Now, granted, when I was first getting those job hits, I took the first immediate job that came to my doorstep. I wasn't prideful at all. And so I was like delivering beer, and I'd get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was at like Walmart and all those places, like delivering stocking beer. And that lasted for a couple days, and then I got a security gig at the hospital immediately after that. And I did that job for like 2 months, and I still had my resume in, floating around town, and Falcor had a spot for me to hop in, and I took it. So, like I said, I haven't looked back.
Yeah. I mean, it goes without saying that when you have that rich history of being 14 years in the military, going through these deployments, that you have a tremendous skill set. You have a huge breadth of knowledge. And I know Jason and Melinda have a huge respect for that. And obviously a lot of guys gravitate towards law enforcement. They gravitate towards certain careers that come naturally to them. But you ended up here. And did you feel like this was home right away? How was the adjustment period, you know, when you finally got in the door at Falcor and you started working here? Did you feel like, geez, this is, you know, really where I want to be? Or, you know, I know it's morphed into more of that lately. But how was that adjustment kind of coming in and working in the aerospace and machining and getting used to that? Because you're seeing the beginning of what you use in the end, because without getting into some of the things we make here, and we'll go there. But I'd love to get your insight on kind of how that was, seeing a cold piece of steel become what you use in the field.
Fortunately for me, my dad, he's a machinist. He grew up doing machining work, and so I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for anybody that works anything, you know, from scratch and does anything by hand, especially a hand milled lathe. There's nothing powered in his shop that he doesn't do, you know, physically himself. And so I've always admired that kind of ingenuity and had a ton of respect for people that could do that. It's pretty impressive. And to see it from the ground floor to the end product is even more impressive. You know, just being a ground pounder and a grunt, you never really take a whole lot of pride in what you're dealing with as long as it works, because you don't want it to fail in the field, you know. So there's a level of care that you have to take care of it, you know, on your own, in which, you know, in the military, they teach you and make sure that you know that. But yeah, I mean, being able to be a part of this process has been a huge, just an honor. It's great.
Now, it goes without saying, when we have other guests on, we talk about the tour and we talk about, you know, shooting the guns and things like that. You've been in here, you've been in the building. I want to touch on this because I know it's something that's important to all of us. How has the changes been here, and without getting too deep in the sauce, but, you know, how have you enjoyed some of the changes here and some of the last maybe 2-3 years? I know we've gone through a tremendous amount, just as recently as putting a new gun vault in. How have you enjoyed some of that?
I don't want to say facelift, because it almost like demeans all the work that we've done here. But there's been a lot of changes put in place. Everything runs a lot smoother. A lot more SKUs are in place. Yeah, it's definitely it's almost like Candyland working here. Getting to see what was over a year ago to what is now. It's like a breath of fresh air. Putting all these aspects into play with the Cerakote room, the gun, you know, modifying the gun room, and putting the right people in place and make sure that the ones that really want to be a part of it are still here. And
Yeah.
it's been great. It's awesome.
And your process has been a gradual one. I know Jason and Mel and myself have taken a very proactive role in your career and where you want to go. And just as recently as kind of you're slowly moving out of the QC role. I mean, you never fully leave QC. I don't think anyone in the building ever fully leaves QC. I think Jason still does QC. And that's something that's really important. We're always analyzing everything we do here and scrutinizing it and how can we do it better. And it causes a lot of bickering. But, quality control is something nobody has perfect. I don't give a fuck who you are.
Right.
Nobody's quality control is perfect. You're always getting better. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing here? We're trying to make the best. We're not trying to make the okay. So you kind of you're slowly morphing into this role in DRACOS. And 2019, I think, is going to be more a year about you. 2018, I wanted to do a lot of things coming in, whether it's from a physical changes to emotional changes and everything else. It's been a bit of a passion project to me to kind of bring things 180 degrees into a direction, or even 90 degrees or whatever, into a direction that I felt we needed to go. You're moving into a role now with as recently as going to Cerakote school. How was that?
Well, it was a pretty fun experience. I mean, you're dealing with people who that's their bread and butter.
They're SMEs.
Yeah. That's their trade, and they have a lot of pride in what they do. And Nick Industries was more than happy to have us there. And it's a year wait to get into that course. And as soon as I was able just to step foot inside their facility, I mean, their facility is a lot like ours. It's very small, nothing to take away, but they do huge things there. And so I could relate as soon as I walked through the door. I was talking to their staff guys and their CEO and their sales guys, and a lot of their feel and their pride in their work reminds me a lot of here. And so it made the learning process a lot smoother, and I felt comfortable there as soon as I walked through the door.
So you go through the Cerakote school, and that was kind of the first step into taking a more proactive role in the barrel process, and then this is kind of a big foray for you into a little bit of the media. What do you think of being a guy who spent 14 years overseas, blown up a handful of times, you were a sergeant, platoon sergeant. What do you think of the 2A industry as a whole? I know you'll be going to SHOT Show. I know you've seen some social media stuff. What do you think of the industry as a whole? What do you see when you look out there at the landscape, at some of the social ninjas and the mall ninjas and everything, every ninja out there? What do you see? I'm really curious. What do you see?
You mean like the keyboard SEAL Team 6 guys?
All of it. MEAL Team 6, all of it.
Well, the thing is just on a military perspective is we are always changing. We are always trying to adapt to make ourselves a better fighting force, right? So like your average gun set, even the old M4, if you will, it has changed. So when I look at stuff, nothing is ever just set in stone. Nothing is ever just as is. It could always be better. That's kind of like our own internal motto, right? Like
yeah.
We always have that discussion about
course.
things could be better. And so being able to have that experience of being overseas and actually being in firefights, kicking indoors, there's always better equipment that you could always wish that you had, especially just being a grunt. Now, I can't speak on the south side, but those guys were always the spoiled ones. No offense to those guys, but they had a budget out the wazoo that they could just order whatever they wanted and they can just get it. Whereas being a grunt, I mean, you're just issued with whatever you get and have fun with that. So you always have to make best of what you have. And unfortunately, you get a lot of those people that were keyboard warriors, and they'll sit there and try and dictate what you do overseas. But the bottom line is they didn't smell the dust, and they didn't have to live out of their bags for months and months at a time. So as far as those guys go, I have no disrespect to them, but stay in your lane. That's pretty much what I'm going to say to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes without saying. You make a good point. They didn't smell the dust. There's a term I say over and over again. I don't care who you are or what you've done. If you're a good guy, I'll be cool with you. I don't care if you're a shoot fast guy. I don't care if you're a mall ninja. I don't care if you're whatever it is. Even if you're a keyboard warrior. Shit, I've invited the memers on. I'm game for anything.
Right.
So to everybody out there, come on down. You're the next contestant up on the Behind the Flame. But, there is something to be said if you've ever, and I use the term stood in the huddle. swore an oath, been a part of a team at a high level, you understand a little bit about sacrifice. You understand more than most. I'm not going to mitigate what you've done. Shit, you were the tip of the spear. You were right there. But if you've ever stood in a huddle, swore an oath, or done anything along the lines of selfless acts for a country, for a town, whether you were a cop, a sheriff, a law enforcement officer of any kind, or were entrusted with the safety of others, or maybe overseas 14 years and 5 deployments and blown up a handful of times.
I mean, tip my hat to first responders. I mean, those
Yeah.
guys, those people see a lot as well. So I mean, firefighters, you know.
But I think there's a lot of guys, I think it's safe to say, and I want to get your thoughts, Aaron, that there's a lot of people that don't fully understand what it means to be in the firearms business, actually in the business. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement. That's a very fair statement. And you know, as a consumer back in the day, you know, you always look to some new platform that's coming out. Well, you know, LWRC, like back in 2006, 2007. I was super hyped up about that platform when it came out, and I was able to get to play and mess around with their stuff. But bottom line, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into, you know, those companies pulling out those platforms. And so I've come to realize just stepping into this, my toes are wet, not my foot, that the business is smaller than what people think it is. And so there's a lot of people that grind it out to ensure that, you know, like we do, we try to put out a very quality product. And so there's a lot of time, effort, and energy
Oh,
that goes
hell
into
yeah. I mean, I just got off the phone. Jason knows this, with a very notable firearms manufacturer out there. They do a lot of sub-gun stuff. They were just up for a military contract, very good friend of mine. And they'll even tell you, you know, it's probably not a SKU or release, you know, to the mainstream, because it's just not even cost effective or cost prohibitive to release it. And people don't understand what goes into releasing something. And I know Jason spends days upon hours working on stuff, and stuff that never sees the light of day. And he takes a lot of heat on that from me, from everyone. And, you know, and people don't get that we don't want to put something out there that we don't feel is perfect. And if you show me a company out there that releases every perfect platform, I'll tell you another thing. You know, because it's just not the case.
No.
Because you're striving for that perfection, and you just don't feel good about something, you're not going to put your name on it.
Right, yeah.
You know, for every 10 pieces, I mean, it took Gaston Glock, what was it, 16 models before he got to the Glock 17.
Yeah, yep.
So, you know, there's to the fact that we do stuff in 2 or 3 or 4 different models, and we're over here ready to cut each other's fucking throats over it. It's not a perfect system. It's an imperfect system, because we're imperfect people.
Correct.
And we try to operate things under every condition that we can throw at it, and sometimes we feel good about it, and sometimes we don't. So, you know, touching on that QC stuff a little bit and the development stuff, that's why it takes so long to flesh out ideas and to flesh out things. And people don't get that. But it takes a lot of time. And it takes a tremendous amount of teamwork. And along the way, every time, you know, Jason comes at us with, I want to release this or I want to release that, I'm like, here we go. This is going to be 4 months of fighting and arguing and bickering. But you just have to go into it with the right team and the right crew, where you know you're going to come out the other end and you're all going to either agree or disagree or get on the same page or get the fuck out of the room.
Well, I always look at it whenever Jason brings up something new, I think of it as, ooh, I get to break something.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So it's exciting to see you kind of develop. You know, you go to the Sierra Code School, you're moving into this role with DRACOS more and more, and we got some SKUs lined up for you. He's got the machines running day and night, cranking stuff out for you. It's going to be exciting to see this stuff take hold, because I mean it when I say it. 2019 is going to be a great year for DRACOS. DRACOS is going to be really something that I think is going to become, in many ways, a lot of people have said quietly, DRACOS will be bigger than Falcor, and this might be one of those turning point years, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out and how that brand plays out and how it shapes. And as you take a bigger role, I'm excited to see kind of where it goes and how we shape it. But I think, you know, it's a good time to kind of talk a little bit about SHOT. I think you're excited to head out there.
I'm stoked. I can't wait. Yeah, my first one.
Ready to meet the folks and ready to kind of press palms and rub elbows. And we all know SHOT Show's a giant, you know, clusterfuck of people, mix. You get your media guys, everything else. Hopefully you'll be able to keep your temper in line with dealing with folks. It's tough. And I'll tell everybody out there that's attending SHOT Show or has attended SHOT Show or any large-scale show like NRA SHOT Show or, dare I say it, the Great American Outdoor Show, that pride-swallowing siege for 10 days or whatever it is in Harrisburg. If you get the opportunity to head out, it's a lot. Just remember, when you roll up to those booths and you roll up to those guys, you could be the 1,000th, literally the 1,000th person that they've shook hands with or met. You know, to the point where when we come home, I think we're riddled with the SHOT Show AIDS for a few days. Shades, as Derek likes to call it. What do you want to say about DRACOS, where it's at and where it's going, and what's your kind of outlook with it?
That's kind of a tough question.
Come on,
because there's just so much that I want to do and want to implement, and right now, as is, I mean, we deliver a really good product, and my goal is to make that product even better, even better than what it is right now. So there are some ideas in my head, and I'm keeping it in my back pocket. I'm not going to share right now. But in the next couple of years at least, I want to make it even like an exotic product where people are just itching to get at it, and I want people to fight over it. It's kind of like that. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and when Charlie pulls out that last golden ticket, and people are almost like trying to tackle him to take it. That's what I want to happen with DRACOS. I want that product to be just like that.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm excited, and I know Jason's jumping out of his pants. And I'm going to release some fucking top secret information to the people that are going to listen to this. We're going to be coming out with some badass stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with the AR platform. Absolutely nothing to do with what you've seen so far.
Just let people ponder that for a second.
I think they know damn well what I'm talking about, because I'm not going to insult my people's intelligence. I'm sure as shit not going to insult Frank Darrell, Diesel 308, God's Warrior, or any of these guys' intelligence. Get ready. Buckle up. Because I've had my crack at releasing all the CQB and revamping some of the Mil-Leo stuff and some of the more affordable options. Now Jason Sonju gets his crack at releasing some of the stuff he wants to come out with. And I think, that's right, Darryl, hell yeah. Because some of this shit coming off the machine, I don't even shoot it. And I'm getting funny. How excited are you?
Well.
And it's going to be a DRACOS product. You heard it here first.
Seeing what I've seen the past couple weeks, I'm super, super excited. It's going to be huge, not to disrespect the photos. Huge, but no, it's going to be amazing. And yeah, I can't wait to get it on the range and test it out.
That's right. Get your wallet ready, Diesel 308, because I'm telling you right now, I got to give it to Jason and Aaron. They spent some time looking at this stuff. There is some stuff coming out that I'm telling you right now. I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, it's pretty.
But it won't matter what month it comes out. It'll be like Christmas all over again.
Yeah. So speaking of Christmas and getting your wallets ready, we got Black Friday this week.
D. Mitchell Designs chiming in with the shameless promotion.
What's up? Yeah, so we're going to drop those promo sales here in the next day or two, so be paying attention, get those wallets ready. Aaron, are we going to be throwing any DRACOS stuff into that mix?
We do have some barrels in there that I need to clear out my shelves and make more room for future stuff.
Everything must go.
Everything must go. So
going out of business. It's good for business.
So we are doing a badass Black Friday sale like we did last year. Everybody get ready. That's why I want you guys on YouTube. We're doing a badass giveaway with this podcast. Make sure you share this, guys. Share it and get folks to come in here, because we're giving away an Action Targets bag, and we're going to give a Vortex red dot away.
So jealous.
So, guys, share this. I'm going to pick somebody who either shares this on YouTube or leaves a review on the podcast. Please take a minute, everybody in here, share it, and get folks in here for this giveaway. I know it's early. So coming back to DRACOS and some of the stuff we'll be releasing, I know of two very big things. There's obviously, fuck it, I'm going to say it. There's going to be some muzzle brakes and some stuff that's going to be up on the website very shortly. There's going to almost be a relaunch of a lot of the different things on the website. DRACOS is going to be a big part of what we do here in 2019. And and Jason wouldn't have put somebody in charge, in the lead there, if we didn't think that.
Well, and I wouldn't take the position unless I knew I could do it. So when I was offered the position, I took it with a great amount of respect, and I'm very humbled and honored to have this opportunity. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And if you want to, hey, I see you, God's Warrior. If you want a chance to win this Vortex Red Dot, make sure you're sharing this and inviting people into this forum. Take a minute. Action Targets was kind enough to give us a bunch of range bags, and we got some badass red dots we're going to be giving away.
So jealous.
Oh, yeah. So, 2019. Business plan's done. The budget's done. Jason's asshole's puckering. He's ready. He's excited. In fact, we can't even keep this guy contained. He shares so much shit on his social media. So if you're looking for the leakage, it's at Jason_Sanju. Look for the leakage there.
Yeah, just from like airborne talk. So Jason's like the first guy in the stick.
He's the mole.
Yeah, he's got like the first guy in the stick. He's already hooked up, and he's not even waiting for the light to turn green. He's ready to just jump out.
Half the time when we're bickering, we're looking over. I'm gonna coax him to the mic with this bullshit. But half the time when we're bickering in here, we're like, Jason's like, "Who's the mole? It's you, motherfucker." But he gets excited. He's so pumped up. And it's nice to see him excited about that brand and see you around that brand and see him, get that excitement. Because we did do a lot of stuff with the Standard, and we did a lot of stuff with the new pistol, with the Blitz 2.0 and the Rush 2.0. And we got some other stuff coming that'll be a little bit more of a subtle nod to the Breacher and the 308. And I'm not ashamed to share it here with you guys. There'll be some stuff coming. But it's going to really be about you. It's going to be about Jason. It's going to be about this whole movement back towards precision, accuracy, reliability, and kind of some of the monikers that Falcor was built on being instilled into the DRACOS lineup. And I know he's really excited about it. And he's got the engineers going crazy, and he's got you being pulled in 7 directions. And it's going to get you on the range testing. And you were just on the range recently screwing around with some stuff. Shooting some stuff.
Oh, that's 6.5. That's 6.5 is money. That's gorgeous.
I was going to ask you, what do you think of some of the Falcor products? Being a guy that's been overseas and had his hand on a lot of stuff. What do you think of what we do here, and what do you think of the products?
The actions are super smooth. I was very surprised, especially that 6.5. Typically you got to get to that 30 cal range. You're kind of expecting more of a pump, backlash, that really bad recoil sometimes. Like I fired 50s, I fired 338s, I fired just about everything under the sun. But that 6.5 is super smooth.
And just so everybody knows, we had all talked about it, and you've been deeply involved with this because you're involved with all the barrel projects. We did a 6.5 Creedmoor for Jason for an upcoming helicopter hunt he's going to be doing. He wanted something unique. He wanted something fun. So in my head, these guys been beating me down with 458 SOCOM. In my head wanted to do a 6.5 Creedmoor pistol. And God's Warrior, you're a little off with the spelling of Creedmoor. It's not Creedmoor.
Creedmoor.
But
he was using your native tongue. He was using your native tongue. That's all.
So we want to do something fun. I got on the phone with Clint Hansen. I know you were right there, and we started talking about gas, and we started talking. I know a thing or two about gas. Just ask anyone around here. We started talking a lot about some fun stuff we wanted to do. So I said, Jason, go back in your room, take a nap. I'm gonna have something great for you. And we came out with a 6.5 Creedmoor pistol. And it wasn't nothing I do really, you guys. I'll give you insight. Nothing I do is really born in a vacuum. We had done something in the past that was called an iris. It was an interesting concept, but I felt like 2 tax stamps and a partridge and a pear tree was a little much. So we kind of scaled it back, and now with some of the technology that's out there, it's very easy to bring something to the market that I think makes sense, and I use that term over and over again. And this was something that made a lot of sense, and when we dolled it up, at first we had no intentions of making a SKU out of it, and I'm not sure that we still do, but we are going to do somewhat of a limited run of these 6.5 pistols, and it was something that was born out of Jason's side project for him to go and do this badass hunt, and we thought it would be very cool to come out with. We are going to do more stuff like this because I think they're fun, and I think they make the brands fun. So one thing that you've loved is the 458 SOCOM, and that's something we're talking about doing a limited run. I mean, it's no secret. I did a post about it. So the 458 SOCOM pistol is something that I think a lot of people have been like, geez, I'd love to see. This is what I hear a lot on the street, and I know Jason hears it. I'd love to see that in a Falcor. I'd love to see what Falcor would do with that. So we try to give you guys a taste of what that would look like. What do you think of some of the calibers out there, and especially some we'll be doing? And I know you get passionate about this, and I know you love the 458. But what do you think of that, the Valkyrie, some of the different offerings out there that are coming?
Well, the thing is when you said it makes sense, a lot of the stuff that we come out with makes sense. I'm not gonna go and trash anybody that's out there, but they always come out with like this exotic round. Now, granted, 458 is kind of exotic because it's not sensible.
Definitely a niche.
But
expensive.
It is expensive, but if you're looking for a good pack gun for bears and stuff like that, I think it's perfect. But that's just my personal take on it. So that's why I was itching to kind of build my own. But the thing that brought it like to me was I always wanted a 4570, and of course Marlin doesn't make it anymore, so I figured I'd just go the other route and just go like a 458 SOCOM. It just kind of takes over in my mind.
Yeah, there's so many fun calibers out there to play around with. So just so everybody knows, when we do these side projects, you know, Aaron has a lot of input, Jason has a lot of input. We try not to overthink them too much. We try to work with what we have, and coming back to the make sense angle, we try to put something out there that we put some thought into, and we think the market wants, and whether we release 50 or 100 of them, we think that they'll be super exciting. Yes, Frank, there'll be DRACOS products in stock by Black Friday. If they're not in stock by Black Friday, keep your eyes peeled on the website for the tiles. I know Austin and Derek are working feverishly on the
Combat Canvas is just on a move on it too.
Yeah, so they'll be there. And yes, there is a 16-inch 556 DRACOS boom, so keep an eye out for that. So to all you guys out there, we appreciate everything that you guys do, comments and chiming in. We're giving away, again, an Action Targets prize pack with a Vortex red dot today to everyone who shares this. So as we kind of wrap up, I want to talk about you doing some media stuff. You're going to be chiming in. We got back-to-back podcasts today. We got an awesome guest coming up after. Are you excited about doing so? I know, like, you know, the media thing with you is a little bit of like you're in, but you're kind of in. How are you feeling about doing a lot more media here? As the head of a brand, you have to kind of you got to put your balls out there a little bit. How's that make you feel?
Yeah, I just don't want to get castrated. No, I've been pondering around the idea, and I'm liking the idea more and more, but I'm actually kind of pushing myself to do it.
It's going to be good for you.
I'm more of a behind-the-scenes kind of guy.
It's going to be good for you.
As Candace called me the ninja the other day, I take that and.
Well, you did Andy's podcast. You're on here, and you've chimed in the past. I'm excited to see you be doing it. I mean, Jason and I are honestly getting too fucking old to keep doing it.
I'm older than you. What are you talking about?
Not in years out there, getting my ass handed to me. But you know, we're excited. We're happy for you. It's nice to put fresh faces and show some people who's affiliated with this brand and who's involved. And I mean that with the most respect. It's nice to have you out there.
Well, there has to be some level of care to it. It can't just be frivolous, you know, play and not give a shit. But yeah, you have to give a damn for one in order to do it. That's being put in the position that I'm in, that we're all in. and that's the reason why the people that are still here because they love what we do. So
Yeah, and when you put your balls out there and take the bullets, I mean, it's not easy. I can tell you firsthand. You're going to go through phases that Jason and I have gone through, and everybody's gone through that's out there, and it's one of those things. People, oh, he didn't look at the camera the right way. Oh, he didn't have his pants on the right way. Oh, he didn't have his
I'm not
socks
photogenic, so
on
I'm not even to go
properly.
there. I am not photogenic, so.
You will be when I'm done with you. So, one last thing, we'll kind of touch on as we get close to wrapping, because I think we're rubbing up against time, and I'll throw it to Derek for closing remarks, and then if Jason has anything he wants to chime in with. We're both on a interesting journey that's allowed us to cross paths, and it's a super humbling journey, to say the least. We're both doing jujitsu.
That we are.
And honestly, it is one of the most pride-swallowing sieges you can go through at this stage of the game, to humble yourself and say, I'm going to start from scratch.
John, you're still on shoestring belt, right?
I'm still
Do
on.
you have white belt yet?
I am barely breathing. Aaron's got, like an 8-month head start on me.
I've been doing it since July of 2017, so.
He's got about a year on me, at least.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, about that.
It doesn't mean I know more than you.
Oh, fuck. Of course it does. But we talked about it with Andy. You chimed in a bit. I don't want to beat a dead horse on it, because we already chimed in on it. But it's great every now and then to do something that's humbling. I know about 18 months ago, Jason rediscovered his love for training and went down to Texas, trained with Branch, and he got his ass handed to him a couple times. And, and I went through this, believe me, a couple phases, training with people through the years. And I think Jason was like, shit, man, I don't know anything about lifting weights. I thought I knew something. And I don't know anything about dieting. I thought I knew something. But, man, with him, I watched his learning curve adjust so fast. And he just, took it in. And now, he looks great. He trains his ass off. He's in there every day. He's even pushing me now. And, I can't get under his skin like I used to. I try. But, all these things are very humbling journeys. You go through them. And whether it's jujitsu or lifting weights or heading in the range, doing a training with Tony or doing whatever, it's really something. You get so humbled, and you're like, I thought I knew so much about that, but I really realize I know shit.
Well, the funny thing about it is in order for one to grow, is you need to put yourself in uncomfortable positions and push yourself and allow people to push you in those positions in order to grow. And it's not just a humbling experience. It's an honor. There's a reason why you bow before you get on the mat, and it's kind of clear your head and be focused on what's present at that present time. It's just like when you walk in the gym.
Oh yeah.
If you're just walking, working out, if your head is not in the right place, you get onto that bar is going to crush you.
He's sniffing around the mic.
He is too. Look at him.
He's sniffing.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Like
So one of the things, I'll get Jason on here quick as we wrap. One of the things that's always been ingrained in the blood at Falcor is just that, is we train. And we're always willing to train. It's like I say with the podcast, come on down. Come on. But training is something that's always been near and dear to our heart. And one thing Jason's always done is this: put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly.
And that's definitely the safest way to put it. What do you say to that, Jason?
I agree. There's a lot of things I didn't know about you, Aaron, when I started listening to all this, and it just reconfirms that we have the right man in the right place and the right job. Excuse me. But some thoughts on you coming in here, looking around, actually depended on some of the things that we've done here, building rifles. It was interesting hearing you talk about, I guess, being naive a little bit about what all went into this, and seeing firsthand what the dedication, the long hours, the frustrations, the everyday problems that this company goes through, and I'm sure others out there, to come out with what we do when it comes to building rifles. So can you expand a little bit more about that? I think it's some behind the flame information that people would like to hear, because we get a lot of inquiries about tours here. People always are fascinated what we do. So this is a good opportunity for you to tell them from an outside perspective coming in and now seeing it, what would you say to those folks?
Oh man, well, first off, you have to do your homework. You have to do, some homework on, the businesses that do this. Mattel was actually the first one that blueprinted the M4, or sorry, not the M4, but its predecessor. And so, if you don't understand its history, you're not going to appreciate the end product, for one. For two, being able to see everything from initially when I walked through the door to what it is now, to see the heartache and blood, sweat, and tears that have developed such good products and continue to refine them, there's a lot of appreciation that has to go into that. And if you don't respect that, then sorry, Jason, but you still wouldn't be in business. And it takes guys like John to push people in the right direction. It takes you to really have a heart and soul in what we do. And if you don't have the right people in place that are willing to put forth that effort, you're not going to get the end result, and you're not going to want to refine what you have, and you're going to be just your average.
Chasing the pack.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think about the culture that we're trying to build around here, and the work ethic and the grinding it out and all that? Now that you're in a position that you're in, talk a little bit about what you'd like to see and what you expect.
One of the things when I first walked through the door that I always appreciated was this is a really close-knit family environment. And so we're always trying to build each other up to do the right thing, and there's some integrity that goes along with that, right? And I want to continue that trend, and I don't want to break away from that. And there's always a standard that has to be met, right? And so we always push to meet that standard, but at the same time, we're always trying to exceed that standard to make a better product. And that's kind of what I want to see. Not that we haven't been doing that, but I want to push that harder. So,
what do you think of an 8-to-5 job here?
Well, an 8-to-5 job is exactly that. It's a job. Whereas this is a profession. If you're wanting to get in this business and you want to be prevalent, it has to be a profession, and it has to be something that you love to do. Otherwise, it's just a job. You're not going to last long.
That's well said. Aaron, in closing, at least for me, after a few weeks, I remember I always tend to not really talk to anybody when we first hire folks, because I just want to see how they act and who they are, and before I invest my time and energy in them, do I even get to know them? And I know that sounds kind of harsh and whatnot, but at the end of the day, I just learned over the years that I just like to sit back and observe. And I will say this, I could tell early on that this guy came to work. He didn't care about the politics, didn't care about what he did or what was asked of him. He just rolled up his sleeves and worked. And I remember telling that to Melinda. I said, this guy right here, he's a worker. He reminds me a lot of what I used to do back then. And sometimes I miss it. Now that you're moving out of that role of really hands-on and moving more towards a bigger role here, I just like to it's really rewarding, I would say, seeing people start and then move up in the company. And you got to be one of the fastest, not because of pure luck or chance, just because you demonstrated it. So me and Mel and John and the whole team here at Falcor, Austin, Derek, everyone else here, really, really appreciate and seeing what you've done. And I have no doubts that you're going to do an amazing job.
Well, I've said it multiple times, and I'll continue to say that I'm very appreciative of just being a part of this company, for one, and for two, to give me the responsibilities that I'm having right now is even more of a grander experience. But when I was jobless, I had delusions of grandeur of becoming a private contractor and going overseas and doing that old thing again. But I always had that reservation of like my back acting up, so I was like, I don't know, or even just like moving to Mexico because everything's cheaper there. But tequila really
I think we've
sounds
all
good.
wanted to move to Mexico at one point.
But no, to be able to be back home to where
Where it all started.
Where it all started. And to be a part of this process has just been a huge honor, and I will always be grateful every day that I get to walk through these doors. So
Yeah, the full circle is always really something. And I think I think I've said this to you we had a long talk Sunday. I said this to you. I believe this with all my heart. I'll say it right in front of Jason. I think you're in one of the most advantageous places in the country, in the company. I think you, if worked properly, you will gradually get as much responsibility as you want. And you may not want it all. I will warn you that. Because with that responsibility comes what? More liability.
yeah,
So, you become liable for a lot of the decisions and things that you do.
well, I'm going to look at Jason when I say this. It's being in the military, you get used to getting your ass chewed.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I still have an ass. I've been working hard on it, but I've always taken the responsibility of my positions very seriously, and especially being a platoon sergeant. My last deployment, I was responsible for over $22 million worth of stuff, 36 dudes under me, and there wasn't a week that went by that I did something wrong, even though I felt that it was the right thing to do. And the biggest thing is taking care of your employees, the ones that are under you. That's the proper thing to do.
And Aaron, I get my ass chewed just about every week. But I'm a guy who comes in here and I live by a simple motto, and at the end of the day, no one can take it from me. I just do my fucking job.
Well,
And
we all stay in our lanes, right?
Yep. And I try to make this place the best, most conducive work environment for everybody in each role. And I try to give them all the tools that this building and myself can offer. And the moment I stop doing that, I'm not doing my job. My job's to give you the tools.
Right.
And that's what I like to give the guys. No excuses. Dip into my Rolodex, give you all the tools to do what you need to do and do it properly and have as few. My job's to look Jason in the eye and say, he's got no excuse. I've emptied the Rolodex. He's got everything he needs. So hopefully the future will not only be bright and prosperous, but fun. Because we try to have a good time and we try to incorporate everything and we support everything that you do. Love seeing you go and speak to the kids locally. Love seeing more of that local involvement and especially getting into some of the training and some of the different things that we are passionate about here and we take a big lead role in. And I know I'm really happy that I work in a place where Jason's a big proponent of that, making sure we're all trained up, we know what we're doing, and we walk the walk and live by that motto. So thank you, and I know I speak for Jason and Melinda when I say thank you for your service. Thank you for what you've done here. Thank you for everything you continue to do, and your passion and the way you have that fire in your belly. It's going to take a little polishing, a little rough at times, but it's not too dissimilar from myself. But I think, it's going to be a fun road to hoe. We're going to go through Black Friday, and I know as time goes on, I'm going to look at you and consider you a good friend. And I thank you for everything.
I appreciate it. It's been a huge honor.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw it to Derek for closing remarks and for announcements and for the giveaway and everything in between.
Sweet. Aaron, thanks again, man. It's great to have you on the show. John, thanks for hosting as always. Don't forget about that giveaway we have. Details posted in the feed. And I want to do something a little bit different this week. So we want to thank our sponsors for sure. We've got Kenzie's Optics. We've got 221B Tactical, Mark Bell's Slingshot, Taurus. Am I missing one? I feel like I missed one. Bang Energy Drinks. They keep us running here. But yeah, right. But rather than being the one that we're always thanking them, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If it wasn't for you guys, we obviously wouldn't have a show to continue on. So thank you very much. Also, if this show's made a difference for you, I'd love to have you go onto those sponsors feeds and tag us at Behind the Flame on Instagram. Tell them thank you for sponsoring us so we can keep this thing alive. So that's, again, go to all the sponsors. We've got Taurus, we've got Bang Energy, we've got Mark Bell's Slingshot, 221B Tactical, and Kenzie's Optics. Tag us at Behind the Flame. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Falcor Defense Behind the Flame. We will see you next week. A couple minutes, but I mean, for the replay, right? We got to whatever, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.